They're gorgeous, graceful creatures that don't so much fly as they do dance.
Can be up to 5 feet tall, 7-foot wingspan, in large numbers, dancing, making all this sound. It's really fantastic.
These winged marvels are sandhill cranes, the most abundant crane species in the world. And the Nature Conservancy's Jesse Roseman says perhaps also the oldest.
We've found fossils from 40 million years ago, same bird, so it's really a living fossil.
In Central California, the best place to spot them is at the Cosumnes River Preserve, where they fly south for the winter.
Several of our banded cranes have been coming back here for many years. I believe there was a pair which was nicknamed Sweetie and Softy.
It's a migratory bird, so it only spends part of the season down here at the Cosumnes, basically getting fat. Then it'll go back to the north if it's a greater sandhill crane, which is a threatened species here in California. Then it'll go only as far as Oregon.
Hunters nearly wiped out the greater sandhill crane in the 18th and 19th century. Preserve manager Harry McQuillan, who's with the U.S. Bureau of Land Management, says urbanization has also taken its toll.
They were listed for the exact same reasons as almost every other species is listed on the endangered species list, whether it's the Federal Endangered Species Act or the State Endangered Species Act, and it's due to habitat loss and fragmentation.
We've lost somewhere in the range of 90 to 95% of all the wetland habitat that a lot of these cranes used to depend on. I think that's really affected their overall numbers. There are still other spots throughout their range where they can be hunted.
But that's not the case here, thanks to restoration efforts.
And our primary purpose for being here basically focuses on 3 different types of habitat: freshwater wetlands, valley oak riparian forest, and then annual grasslands, vernal pool grasslands. Those are our 3 dominant habitat types that we work on.
It's a task that's far from a solo effort. It takes several government agencies, nonprofit groups, as well as private landowners.
It really does take a team of folks out here to get the job done.
Government agencies manage the land and work with local farmers and ranchers who also play a big role. Biologist Carleen Volherbst is with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
We work with private landowners, and here at the preserve we're looking at neighbors of the preserve, partners within the Cosumnes River watershed to help them do restoration on their private land.
Farmers also help the wildlife ecosystem by growing certain crops.
When we harvest a field, we'll make sure that some of the grain is left on the surface so they can come in behind our harvesting. And then we also add water to the fields, which is another critical element for the cranes. And then they're able to gather their food and roost.
It's all part of a plan to protect not just the sandhill crane, but everything else around them too. In fact, there are more than 260 animal species taking refuge here.
If we protect habitat for the sandhill crane and can get people excited about cranes, we then surreptitiously protect habitat for lots of other species.
That's where educating the public comes in. To that end, 10,000 school kids visit the preserve each year.
Our theory is give them some hands-on. You know, you can read it in a book. I could read in a book how to, build a rocket, but that doesn't mean I could actually do it on the ground. And so we have kids that come out here and they'll collect acorns in September, October, and then they'll come back in December, January, February and plant them for us. So they actually get to see the whole process.
It's a job that's not so much a job, but a mission for these nature lovers.
Part of my job is being able to spend time outside, being able to create habitat for wildlife, and be able to share that with the public, to be able to share how amazing wildlife is, the wonders of wildlife, and getting to share that with the public.
Well, the best part of my job is basically showing up every morning and you see these huge flocks of birds flying overhead and knowing that I played a role in helping to provide that home for that animal or that plant is really very satisfying.
It's a spectacular place to be. I can't imagine going anyplace else right now.
A spectacular place where birds dance on the horizon. An unforgettable sight for those lucky enough to witness the sandhill cranes take flight.